My name is Jack. This is a CB750, 1969. It is a Sandcast 750. I've had this bike for a number of years, probably a dozen years, and it's absolutely fantastic motorcycle. It's a combination of restored and unrestored. The paint's been redone on it. The seat cover's original, the frame is original, the chrome's original on the fenders and the lights and the handlebars. I redid the speedometers and a few other things, but the bike's mostly unrestored. I do ride it quite a bit. I take it out on a lot of vintage bike club rides, but recently the throttle was sticking. It would not move. So I started to dig into it a little bit, and it looks like the carburetor slides are stuck. The other thing that I have to fix is the fuel petcock is leaking. When the petcock is in the off position, it's still running fuel through the carburetors and it's overflowing. First thing I'm going to do is remove the fuel tank. That's pretty easy to do on this bike. The fuel lines are already removed. I flip the seat up, pull the rubber back, and off it comes. And then I'm going to secure the tank. All right, in the past, a few weeks ago when I first diagnosing this, I had taken the slides off, and most of them came up. I had to, like this one here, there we go. It came out of the carburetor. All right, so number 4 came out pretty easy. If I recall, I think number 3 was also a carb slide that came out without too much difficulty. But I know that over here, either number 1 or number 2 really gave me a hard time. I could not get it to slide up out of the carb, but we'll see. A little bit of heat and some oil. We should be able to break it free. There you go. Number 3 slid right out. I had previously cleaned this slide using a WD-40. Took that fuel residue off. Fantastic. Let's see if we can get number 2 out. All right, number 2 is stuck. I've undone the cap. It's not moving. That's the one that I'm going to have to put some heat to and some penetrating oil. Let's see how number 1 does when we get that. See if we can take number 1 out. Yep, there you go. Number 1 came out. Boy, this has some molasses-looking fuel on it. It really has some sticky brown substance on it. And I'm not sure what in the heck that is from. But we'll figure it out. It looks clean inside the carburetor. It doesn't look bad. It's just on the chrome slide. There is a lot of goop on that thing. Anyway, that's step number 1. We got the carb slides out. Now, we still have to get number 2 out. Number 2, the carb slide is not cooperating. I'm going to spray a little bit of penetrating oil and then maybe hit it with a little bit of heat. Hopefully that'll break it free. Get my fuel line out of the way. The bike, of course, does not have any gasoline in the carburetors. They've been drained. I'm going to give it a shot in there with some carb cleaner. Spray it all the way around the slide. See if I can get any movement on the slide. See if that makes a difference. I don't want to damage anything, so I'm pulling fairly gently. But no, that slide does not want to come out of there. I wish I could slip this cable off somehow. And all right, got a different game plan. That carb slide is stuck. It will not budge in that carburetor. I don't necessarily want to get in there since it's so close with heat and start heating it up. I will use heat, but not at the moment. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the side covers. Then I'm going to take the air box tubes off, and I'm going to remove the air box, and I'll see then if it'll be easier to get the carbs back. And then once the carbs are in a more open area, then I can work on putting heat to that carburetor. All right, I've got the carb boots to the air box released, and I've got the lower half of the air box off. Now I'm just unbolting the top half of the air box, and we'll see if I can get the air box to nudge. Don't know, but we'll give it a try. All right, there you go. Boy, that came off really easy. I want to be careful because I don't want to scratch this. Oh boy. Maybe it's the other side. It'll come out easier. There we go. All right, so that was pretty quick. The air box came out pretty fast. I'm going to go ahead and get this cleaned. That carb cleaner I sprayed in did make it all the way back here, but the airbox looks to be in pretty good shape. All right, next I'm going to take the boots off the carburetors. And I don't know if they're going to be stuck or if they're going to come off easy, but once the slides are out, these carbs really don't have much holding them onto the bike. There's some overflow tubes down here, but they're all bundled up in a group. And I think I should be able to slide these carbs off pretty easily. May have to let it sit overnight and soften up. May have to put a little heat with a heat gun to the rubber. But we'll find out what the deal is in a minute. I thought I was doing a good job at keeping high quality non-ethanol fuel in these carbs, but apparently I wasn't doing a good enough job. Okay, the carb boots are all loose. Let's see if I can rock the carbs out. They don't look like they're going to have any part of it. I'm going to hit them with a drop of WD-40. I'll put a rag up underneath to catch anything that may drip onto the bike. And we'll put a little WD-40 on there. Maybe I'll get lucky and the carb boots will decide they want to release the carburetors. But maybe they'll have to sit overnight. Maybe I'll have to use a little heat. Not sure what it's going to take, but all right. They're somewhat coming out. But man, they are tight. Give them another little shot of WD now that I've moved them a little. All right, I've loosened the bands that are on the rubber insulators on the carb side to the maximum amount of looseness they can do without the screws coming out. And I slid them forward against the motor. Now I'm going to go ahead and heat the carb boots and see if maybe I can get a little bit of softness in the carb boots that'll cause the carbs to come off easier. Carbs popped off the back of the motor. Now I can attend to that carb slide that's stuck and have more access to it and not have to worry about creating damage on the motor while I'm doing that. Carb slide is stuck. I'm going to go ahead and try a little bit of carb cleaner on the joint where the carb slide meets the body of the carburetor. Okay, let's see what happens. It is puking out a little bit of dirty fuel right there, so maybe that's starting to loosen it. I don't know. We'll keep trying. All right, a little bit of heat. I let it sit out there for a minute, and sure enough, man, there is just molasses all over this carb slide. It is crazy how that fuel dirtied it. But anyway, there we go. The carbs are off on the Sandcast, and now we're going to take them in, put them on the bench, and start the tear down process. Get them into the ultrasonic cleaner, and go from there. All right, I got the carbs off, and that concludes step number 1 in this process. Luckily, I got the carbs off just at the right time. There was a lot of kind of thick molassesy fuel that was dried, but nothing that was stuck, nothing that was hardened. And more importantly, there was no corrosion. There was no white. Water had not gotten into the carburetors. I first took them, and I took the bowls off and did a quick spray down with some carburetor cleaner and a spray can, and that got a lot of it off. However, I am going to disassemble the carbs, put them into my ultrasonic tank, run them through there for a while, put new bowl gaskets on it, take my carb jet cleaning tool and poke through all the jets to make sure they're clear and they're open. I'll go ahead and put them back together. I'll clean all of these slides off. I'll evaluate all the rubber boots to see if the rubber boots are still good, and then I'll go from there. Okay, I will, importantly, make sure I put some rags down into the opening here so the motor is sealed up. Nothing crawls in there, no bugs, no dust or anything. I'll seal all of the carb boots pretty good while it's apart. It'll only be apart for maybe a week at the most. I do work during the day, so this is strictly an evening or weekend type thing for me. But in any event, I will get the carbs cleaned. We'll put them back on. We'll see how this bike runs. Have fun.